I'm Ronny Haze, writer and creator of Doomsday Kingdom, and today in this video we're going to have a little discussion about Comicsgate and my comic Doomsday Kingdom, which will be launching on Indiegogo soon. We have a pre-launch campaign, I believe they call it. It's where you sign up now if you are interested. All you have to do is sign up. There's no money involved in this process, but if you do go on to back the physical reward tiers, any of them, because you signed up, you will get an exclusive piece of art, either an art card or an art print, but the art itself you won't be able to find anywhere except for this sign up. So if you are interested, go ahead and sign up, or if you think you might be interested, just sign up and you don't even have to back. If you decide later on you're not interested, you can just bounce out. I will say this is 112 pages of story. It's not a 48 page or 50 page, 112. It's 5 single issues collected together, so you have a continuous story once you start reading it for 112 pages. I want to make that clear because I mentioned the campaign a few times recently, and some people just assumed it was going to be, and it seems like it might be the going standard for Indiegogo to have somewhere around 48 pages. I'm not really sure. For some people, that might be what they think of right away, but just to let you know, this is 5 single issues that we had started to release on our own website, and we're moving to Indiegogo mainly because when you're doing trade paperbacks, when you're doing these bigger books, it's harder to do by yourself. Like, I can go get 10 copies of my comic. I can order them right now, have them sent to my house. I'm not going to make any profit off them, but I can turn around and sell them individually. That's nothing. But once we move to the trade paperbacks, once you order, 5 or 10 copies of those, it's going to be more than if you just did it in one bulk, and a lot more, meaning it's less likely you'll be able to succeed if you're not buying in some type of bulk. So that's the difference. With comics, single comics, we were on our own, doing our own thing, but when it comes to the volumes, we're going to have to do some type of crowdfunding. Now, the good thing is we're making sure our comic is almost done before we launch. So there's 112 pages, and when we launch, as of right now, there's like 80 pages, more than that, 90 pages, like totally done. We're talking 100% done. From drawn, colored, lettered even, absolutely done. So we're hoping that we churn this Indiegogo campaign out so fast it'll set a record, or at least that's our goal. Anyhow, let's get into Comicsgate, because a lot of my viewer base didn't really or don't really know about Comicsgate or what it is. I did see a few comments asking if it was a club or a group or something we signed up with, like some type of indie publishing company. And Comicsgate is, simply put, it's an idea, and it seems like there's 2 main pillars. It's literally just an idea, a hashtag you could call it, but there's 2 main pillars. The first one is 2 pillars propping up the house of Comicsgate, pretty much. The first one is story first. Now, does that mean you can't write, and I've seen this over, believe it or not, people who actually work for Marvel and DC saying that if you're in Comicsgate, you can't write LGBT issues, you can't write politics, you can't write this, you can't write that. That's not exactly what that means. I know people come out and they say, get your politics out of comics, but the context is warped there. It doesn't just mean, like, if you have this political thriller, it doesn't mean you couldn't pop it out. I'm not really sure how that would do in comic book format, but the idea is the story is first. So the story has to come first in every aspect. You don't jump in there with some type of social virtue signaling obsession where you got to jump in and everyone has to be like this type of character that we're seeing more and more. And you guys know the characters. And this is where the LGBT comes in, because fans would literally be on Twitter going, wait, hold on. Why are you turning every character gay? And industry professionals will interpret that just honest question coming from people who are themselves gay. They'll turn around and just immediately label them a bigot. And that's part of what kicked this off, where fans are just questioning. And I saw some of it because I originally was going to do research on Comicsgate, the movement, and do like an exposed video because it fit in the comic format. It was hot and spicy because I had one person that said, yo, dude, hit up Comicsgate. And I heard that floating around. I've watched a few videos. I've been around since late 2017 in the Comicsgate community, but I missed a lot of key moments. Well, no, I hit the key moments, but I missed a lot of the underlining theme because I didn't care about Marvel. I didn't care about DC. I think one of the few DC books I even bought was, what was that called? Batman Damned. And the reason being, there's a number of reasons. One is when I was younger, around 11 or 12, when I stopped reading comics altogether, for some reason, the ads in the middle of the story took me out of it almost all the time. I hated it so damn much. And still to this day as an adult, and this is one of the minor issues, if you put ads in the middle of your story, I will not support you financially at all. That's numero uno 101, or number one, rule number one. Like, if you don't respect your work enough to where you don't put an ad, this isn't a YouTube video. This isn't a TV show where you pop a commercial in to keep the lights on. You take your ads, put them at the end of the story, at the end of the book, like Image Comics does, and you shut your face and keep it moving. You don't jam it in the middle of the story. Anyway, that one thing used to always annoy me as a kid, but what annoyed me worse is how all the events and all the stories would spiral out from different titles, and it really felt like a cheap gimmick. And even as a kid, I knew, as I'm reading Punisher, and the story was like, oh, go over here and read 5 issues of this in someone else's title, and I was like, I don't want to. I'm collecting, like, I got 40 issues of the Punisher here. I want to stay in this title. I don't want to have to jump over to collect 4 issues of this other comic and title or whatever that I'm not following just because it's interconnected and within the story. A lot of those events pushed me away. Not only that is growing up with not a lot of money, it was hard to follow certain events and storylines because you had to buy so much and it's intertwined within. Anyway, so I gave it up, and then in my 20s, I got interested in the Walking Dead TV show, and that brought me back to comics, but in a more gritty and more realistic way, where I hunt down stories that, and I'm fine with superhero stories, but I'm more into the grit. Like, if you took something that was serious and dark, and you took, like, the gore and some of the wildness from The Boys, that comic, and put them together, oh man, I'm there. I don't even need to see a picture. As long as you tell me that's where you're going, I'm there to get in line to check it out. I might not buy it because it really depends on the final product, but so that's really my kind of quick summary of where I was comic-wise. But since I'm older, I'm getting into putting my money where I think the most passion is, and just cleanly put the littlest amount of bullshit. Like, when I jump into a comic and I'm really into it, like a little while ago, I'm into Southern Bastards. Volume 1 was such a good story, such a great story. And even one of the more recent issues, they just threw Trump in there. And I don't know if this is a mental thing with them, but I'm so sick of hearing about Trump. I didn't vote for him. I don't know what this Trump derangement syndrome is that has people just throw him in all their shit. When I pick up a comic, I just want to escape the bullshit. And if you're so obsessed and you got to put it in all your shit, it is what it is. It's just, it gets a bit much. That happens with a lot of things, but let's go back to the pillar aspect. So you have the story first, and we can get into the deeper context of that because I see that warped everywhere, like I was saying before. So story absolutely is king. It bows down to nothing else. No agendas, no politics, nothing. Story needs to be first. The second pillar is customer service. And you guys could put all your additional feedback down below, but this seems to be the main issues. What I mean by that, and it connects with the story, you'll see fans who legitimately, and I'm not talking about trolls or haters or assholes, I'm talking about, you'll see legitimate fans asking questions that it's not kissing ass and it's not sucking up, so maybe that's why this happens. But writers and artists and people in certain cliques within the professional comic industry keep in mind, I was going on Twitter to pull some information to do a video exposing Comicsgate, and the nasty shit I seen was from the other fucking side, and it absolutely blew my mind. I was like, what? Like, this blew my mind. Now, one person, check out Comicsgate. I had another person that said Comicsgate is a hate movement. Forget about them, yada, yada, yada. And the first person was like, bro, I'm gay. Comicsgate does not care at all. They welcome me with open arms. It's not a hate movement. That's just something that SJW said. So that's how I was introduced to it. So I was like, all right, I'll see for myself. And I went on, and the ugly shit I saw was from comic book professionals, and it blew my friggin' mind. Now, there's some trolls. Here's a weird way to put it. There's some trolls. There's definitely some people within Comicsgate who don't hold the core values, who do have, like, a bit of hate where they come out at certain issues. And it's like, well, I mean, you can say you're with this clique or you're about this or you support this all you want, but it really gives the movement as a whole a bad name if we don't stay focused on the absolute most important issues. And if we don't crumble to some of the more petty shit, because that just makes the movement itself look petty. And it really has tarnished the movement in a way where the professionals tell all their friends. So now when they hear Comicsgate, they think of these hateful assholes and all this other shit. So not only that, but the infighting has gotten a little bit out of control from time to time. It is kind of like a roller coaster. I'm sure the more you get involved in it, I'm sure it's easy for someone to get sucked into some of the drama. Me personally, as much as I'll jump into the drama ring with anybody. Me personally, I'm focused career-wise on something I want to get done. So there's a part of me that's like, I'm just fed up with the bullshit. I can't even keep up anymore. I don't have time to watch, 10 5-hour live streams a day to see who's saying what on Twitter within this movement. I don't got time for it. I'm a creator now. I'm putting stories out now. So I also have to conduct myself in a different way, or else I'll just be like the people we saw from the comic professionals that blockchained everybody. Which is another stupid idea. If you blockchain everybody, you're blocking people who follow others just to kind of get in debates with them. Just because you follow someone on Twitter doesn't mean you represent all the same values that person does. That's insane. I see so many people that hate, like Trump, that follow Trump. It doesn't mean they hold all his values and they love the guy and whoop-de-whoop. No, it's so they can shit talk him every time he posts. The same thing goes for other people in the comic industry, in the movie industry, show industry. Sometimes you follow people, especially if you're doing like news or drama, you'll follow people you can't stand because when their Twitter feed pops off with some ridiculousness, you can't wait around for someone else to say, oh, hey, dumbass, because you're not following them. You don't know what's going on in current timeline. You know what I mean? So then you got these industry geniuses blockchaining customers, whole customers. And that started a shitstorm with an independent publisher named Alterna Comics. And I watched that right from the start of what happened, where he came out and he said, I don't think the people that publish through Alterna should use blockchains. And guess what? He's right. If someone is harassing you, now there's a difference between replying, and this is another key issue. When you go on a public platform and you get replies, if people think you have a shit take or a hot take that's trash, and you get 100 people that tell you so, that's not harassment. I can't stand when these the weak, feeble people think a reply is harassment. I do agree, you can get levels of harassment, but I think it has to be unwarranted, meaning you're not starting the conversation. If someone's replying to you, automatically it's not harassment. I don't give a shit what you say. You go on a public platform and you say something publicly, you're asking people, you're literally telling people to reply to you. That's how social platforms work. If you don't like it, then private your account or some shit like that. I'm pretty sure that's a thing with Twitter too. Private your account so no one who... how does that work? I think if you don't follow them, they can't say... I don't know. There's ways to go about it. But blockchain is not one of them. So yeah, he came out and he was like, nah, we shouldn't do that. And then some idiot comic creator, I don't even know who they are, I don't care who they are, all I know is if you disagree with blockchains and you're someone who's selling product, you're an absolute moron. It is counterproductive, and intellectually it's freaking stupid when we're talking from a business standpoint, because again, just because people are following people, it doesn't even, they could hear of a name and not really know about them and go to follow them to get to know them more. Something as simple as that now got you blocked because some genius pro decided to blockchain. When I heard blockchain was a thing, I literally almost gave up on society for like 30 minutes. It's kind of, it's the weakest shit. If you don't know what it is, it means you pick somebody and anyone who follows that person, you block them all in one random foul swipe. Maybe that'll clear it up for some people out there. So I kind of got off on a tangent here because there's so much that I bit my tongue over, because again, we were releasing single issues, and now that we're releasing a volume and we have to put it on Indiegogo, we're kind of publicly showing our face within the community. Before we can support, I bought a couple Comicsgate comics. I have a couple others in on the way, and there's things that I believe as well that goes against what's happening right now in Comicsgate. Not the movement's ideals, like the pillars that hold up the house of Comicsgate, but I believe creators need to put out work faster, 100%. And again, that's something that is a criticism to the movement. The movement doesn't, it's not criticism free. There are definitely criticisms. I understand there's challenges along the way. I get it. I've put out comics too. I understand it fully. I understand when your printer is like, oh yeah, we can have this to you in a week or two, and it takes them 2 months. I ran into an issue like that before. It happens. We get it. Damaged stuff in the mail. It happens. I had 75 issues in one whole box. Everything was damaged. In my very first bulk order, I get it as well. But that's one thing I think we should work on. Now, that doesn't mean everyone should be condemned and no one should be trusted. That means I think we should do some things like, and I know no one's going to like this, but stop with additional pages. I'm never going to do additional pages. Why? Well, first off, the way our story is told, it's 22 story pages per issue, and it's 5 issues per volume, and that's it. Because I can't take I can't take pages from issue 6 and tack it on as bonuses, because now it disrupts the whole flow. Because now I'm taking 5 pages from issue 6, adding it on to the back end of volume 1, adding more pages to issue 5, which now means I can't make issue 5. I can't print it because now it's so high to print because the page number just keeps going up with additional things. Now, I do feel like if there's certain projects that are a little looser when it comes to that, plus we have 112 story pages, so I doubt it's going to be like, oh, we want more. Well, it's like that's where volume 2 comes into play, because this isn't it. We're not putting this out and yada, yada, yada. There's definitely 10 volumes that will follow. We're absolutely trying our best to have a long-running story. More than 10 if we have our way, if we're successful. But trust me, there's a lot more to come after that. So Comicsgate isn't something that can skirt criticism. That's something I do believe. There was something else, probably smaller things that we'll get into. But again, I think price is also an issue. I think I don't know. That's something that we can try our best to tweak some pricing. I think some pricing is out there a bit. And when you're trying to build up more and more creators, unless you're growing more and more of an audience or your consumer base, if it's not growing, if it is pulling funds that were going somewhere else and bringing it over to Comicsgate, for example, taking it away from Marvel and DC and bringing it over to Comicsgate, you're also going to see an issue with growth. Again, growth on whole campaigns. I do think that having stuff sold after campaigns is an absolute must, because I hit a bump in the road where I wasn't able to support a certain campaign, but I knew I wanted to buy the book later, and it's coming in the mail. I was just finally able to buy it, and I copped it after the campaign ended. Again, I think those are issues for, especially when you have someone who wants to buy a good amount, let's say. Anyway, now, I think I pretty much covered. I was going to talk about, I wrote down a little note to stay on track. I was going to talk about how I heard about Comicsgate, so I'll give you the really quick summary. Originally, it was through your boy Zach and Ethan Van Sciver. Now, that's a funny one because I was always interested in comic stories ever since I got back into The Walking Dead, when I was in The Walking Dead show, and then I got into The Walking Dead comics. I started looking around for other stories, zombie stories, horror stories, something with good art, something with good stories. And another reason I quit, even as a kid at 12, quit reading comics, is because the stories got to be pretty silly and stupid. And that's the thing, as a kid, I was always looking for something that was a little darker, a little more mature. I don't know. I think that is the way to go. Because when you're 11 or 12, you want to read something that's more like 14, 15, or 16, or 18. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to, at 11 or 12, you don't want to read books that are made for like 6 or 7-year-olds. And some of these Batman books and Superman books, they're written for like 7-year-olds. I don't understand the rationale here. I don't know where it went wrong. Even back in the day, there was some really shitty and silly and shoddy writing. But I think comics has grown and matured in a way where we can produce more and more serious, dark, and gritty work that's respected. That's a conversation for another day. So anyway, I was looking into, because I wouldn't give my money to Marvel or DC, so I was keeping up with the comics through your boy Zach's reviews. And there was so many times where I could not believe the pages he was showing in the reviews. I could not understand or fathom people were giving these publishers money for these types of artwork, this type of dialogue, these types of stories. It is for like children. Not only that, but like silly children. It's insane. Not all of it, but a lot of it is written terrible. Anyway, so I'm watching him through the whole Mark Waid thing, and that is what made me purchase or back Jawbreakers. I was not interested in Jawbreakers. I'm still not interested in Jawbreakers. Not because it's bad, but because, and he's not interested in my book, and I'll tell you that now. He's said it a million times. He doesn't like zombies. I know Ethan Van Sciver said he likes zombies, so we sent him some books to read. But your boy Zach, I know he's not going to give a shit. I'm not even going to bother him with it. But like I said, his type of story, it's not my cup of tea. I simply supported it just because what Mark Waid did to him was absolutely overreaching. I would be incredibly embarrassed and shameful. I would be ashamed if I was Mark Waid to have that type of crybaby maneuver, like throwing a temper tantrum, a grown man with the heart and soul of an absolute child. It was, anyway, if you're friends with him, put him in check, man. Just tell your buddy, listen, dude, that was pathetic. The move he made, shutting your boy Zach out of being able to publish his comic and put it in comic shops, was utterly ridiculous. I talked to a handful of actual comic shops, and I haven't found a single one that disagreed. They were all like, yeah, yo, listen, if we had it our way, and we didn't need to support Marvel and DC in order to stay afloat, we would be at it. We would be at it a game, and we would go with some other big company, because Marvel and DC, they're killing us, you know. And that's every single comic shop from here to Pennsylvania that I've talked to that I know, which is a good handful. Anyhow, so then I was watching this dude talk about Star Wars, and I think he called himself Ethan Van Sciver, and where I got it mixed up is I thought he was a troll saying he was Ethan Van Sciver, and he wasn't the real artist Ethan Van Sciver who worked for Marvel, because he was funny and he was being ridiculous. He was saying wild shit about Star Wars, and I heard about Ethan Van Sciver going to a pizza parlor in like 2017, and apparently it was people calling him a Nazi, decided to vandalize the friggin' pizza parlor because they allowed him to come there to meet fans. Again, these are the types of people calling Comicsgate a hate movement. Let me repeat that again. These people smashed an innocent pizza businessman's windows out. You can Google it and look up the situation now. And they are the ones calling the other people who's signing autographs for fans a hate movement. You know what I mean? It was like when you're seeing all this in real time, you're like, bro, how's this reality flipped like this? Anyhow, so I heard about that, and I thought Ethan Van Sciver doing the videos was a troll and someone using his name as like this joke. So I kept along until I realized, oh shit. And I don't know why I thought that. Now I think about it, I'm like, I don't know how silly that sounds, but now I think about it, I'm like, that was funny. But yeah, I was an idiot because it's the same guy. He ended up being the same dude, and he ended up coming out with Cyberfrog and embracing this idea for the Comicsgate movement, which has blown up into its own type of ecosystem itself, where you have the Comicsgate movement, you have people who are real, you have the customers, and you have the creators, then you have haters who latch onto everything Comicsgate does, and it's amazing when you see it in action because there's all these haters that can't make it in Comicsgate, so they went on the fringes and they just hate on them, and I can't think of one single person that is not obsessive with their hatred for Comicsgate that's actually successful anywhere near the level. I mean, given like 10 of them all say they are, but when you look at their numbers and stats and yada yada yada, they're not pulling in shit. Like, they only got the same 50 people that even talk to them or like they shit. And but they have their own ecosystem where within Comicsgate, then you got people that there's two branches. There's Comicsgate, and then War Campaign is like a subsect of Comicsgate. Like I said, it gets wild. And if you're not on and popping and pay attention every single day, you could get lost. And for me, that can be a bit frustrating because I'm not about the bullshit. Listen, I'll jump into the arena, but I'm a creator. I gotta create some shit. And I think that's where some of the breathing room comes into play. Because as a creator, I do have to keep myself in check and not get into some of these spats, because some of them are with the consumer, and that's not something I want to get into. I'm coming into comics saying I have these stories I want to tell. I'm not hateful. I'm not racist. I'm not misogynist. So, I mean, you could try to give me all these labels if you want. That's not me. People who know me and get to know me will see that as absolute bullshit, and you'll look like a fool. I'm coming into comics and novels and screenwriting because I want to tell stories. There's a number of stories, and certain ones fit better in different mediums. Like Doomsday Kingdom fits amazingly well in the comic medium, or maybe some type of mini-series that would be on a digital provider like Netflix or something, to give you an idea where it would fit in. It no longer fits in as a movie script. Originally, I wrote it as a movie script over, 15, 20 years ago now. Damn, it's been that long. Well, I was real young when I started it, and it's nowhere near. It's changed so much, it's not even anything the same. The only thing that's the same is there was this one scene in 2001 I wrote of a character on a hill who's just like giving up. And he only has one bullet. He's counting his bullets. That moment and a few others, there's a prison scene and maybe 5 other moments are left from the old script. Everything else was completely redone. The bank robbers were left, but they totally changed because they were originally some of the leads. But anyhow, so I just kind of wanted to get everything out there. I think I talked about everything, right? So why am I Comicsgate? I think I'll leave it at that. This is a tricky one because the core ideas on Comicsgate, story first, and again, that doesn't mean you shut out anybody. If you put the story first and you're passionate about telling this story, yes. And then the second thing is customer service, not attacking customers, not saying, well, I voted for this person and I hate this politician, so I'm putting out this story, but everything I do, I want to take shots at you if you didn't vote for who I voted for. If you don't believe in what I believe, I'm gonna hate you. And these are real pros. If you're not in the know, they do that shit, And it's like, no, bro. When you're a creator, you're living in a different zone. I mean, you can go on Twitter and say all the shit you want, but you're talking to people who are potential customers, and customers don't just mean a piggy bank. These are people who are going to support your career and give you a life that you long for. Like, I would love to be able to wake up every day and know that my main job is to work on stories. Luckily, right now, I get to wake up every day and focus on it's a new series I'm doing where we do a special type of review for movies. That's something I want to always do. But right now, just to stay afloat, I need to find the best way to be able to do as many as possible, which is going to kind of hurt some of the quality of them. Down the line, I would love to always be able to do one a week on a consistent basis, and the other time is spent with projects that I can write for comics. And if I get lucky enough, hopefully some screenplays. Because again, certain stories fit better in different mediums. But Doomsday Kingdom is one that's definitely here to stay. And in closing, on Comicsgate, as far as the pillars that hold the house together, the bullshit and drama is something that, as a creator even, I do have to keep that in my mind at all times. But as a person, like if I take the creator out of it, a lot of the bullshit and drama, I'm not built for that. I'm not built for the bullshit. I shoot from the hip. I speak from the heart. I don't have time to sit here and play games and dick around. You know what I mean? If something's stupid, I'm going to tell you it's stupid. If I'm your friend or foe, I mean, I'm going to try to do it without being an absolute dick about it. But if something is off, I'm going to tell you that. Just like when I say we need to do better and quicker. We need to get out product quicker. No more adding pages, no more this. And I know people are going to throw a fit, but I truly believe right now it's about establishing that we can get the product out as a movement and as a growing community, a budding community. Just because it's 2 years old, it's still in its infancy. You need to come up, and become respected and established and make those big moves. Right now, there's definitely some being made, but we need to cut some of the bullshit out and get the work out there and build up. Once we get 2 or 3 solid franchises within Comicsgate, and I don't mean there's movies and repeated movies and yada yada. I mean something that's fire and that's continuing within a story, and you're growing, not just sustaining. I think that's somewhere where we need to get as a whole. Anyhow, a rambling mess of Comicsgate discussions, I guess. I don't even know how to word this now. I'll think of something clever. But now and till the end of time, in spirit, I'm always going to be that solid version of Comicsgate, where it is the story is king and everything bows to it, and then the customer service aspect. There's many little side variations of that. So if you want to share some thoughts and opinions down below, if you think my simplified view of what Comicsgate movement is wrong or flawed, or if you want to add to that, or holla at your boy, you can let me know down in the comments below. But even before Comicsgate, I was always naturally in favor of putting agendas aside, putting bullshit aside, and putting out the best story that you possibly can. All right, thoughts and opinions in the comment box. I'm done talking. It's your turn.